for the first time. A court was told a former soldier was paid thousands to plan and carry out the murder of Rebels boss Nick Martin.
Did the shocking murder of Nick Martin reveal more than just a gang rivalry? The high-profile killing.
Did the shocking murder of Nick Martin reveal more than just a gang rivalry? The high-profile murder of Nick Martin, a prominent figure in the motorcycle scene, rocked both the underworld and law enforcement. Initially, his public execution appeared to be a bold statement of dominance aimed at rival gangs, a calculated display of power. However, as investigators dug deeper into the case, they uncovered a flawed plan marred by internal betrayals and critical miscalculations. What seemed like a straightforward gang hit turned out to be part of a much more complex web of deceit, involving multiple players, each with their own motives. In an unexpected twist, the assassin, a 35-year-old former soldier, avoided a life sentence by agreeing to testify against the alleged mastermind behind the murder, David Pye, a rival motorcycle gang leader. As the court proceedings unfolded, it became clear that the murder was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. The sniper, who initially planned to carry out the killing for a $100,000 payout, had also been offered a staggering $800,000 to eliminate another rival overseas, a mission he ultimately turned down. The former soldier's decision to cooperate became pivotal in exposing a deeper criminal network. As a result, prosecutors commended his cooperation, which led to a controversial 20-year sentence. The case pulls back the curtain on the ruthless and dangerous world of motorcycle gangs, where power struggles, loyalty, and betrayal often drive members to extreme actions. In this high-stakes environment, loyalty is a fragile concept, and individuals find themselves trapped in a web of criminal dealings with deadly consequences. The former soldier's testimony is expected to unravel a complex web of rivalries and covert operations, turning Martin's murder into a key moment in the larger investigation into organized crime. As the investigation continues, the murder and the assassin's deal force us to confront the shaky foundations of loyalty within the underworld. The case underscores the harsh reality that even the most seemingly untouchable figures can become entangled in the destructive forces of organized crime. Despite his military training, the former soldier found himself caught in a world where survival often requires making perilous choices, each one with far-reaching consequences. The emotional toll of Martin's death on his family continues to echo as they struggle to cope with their loss. The ripple effect of violence extends far beyond those directly involved, highlighting the devastating impact of gang rivalries on innocent lives. As the former soldier prepares to testify, the stakes rise not only for him, but for all those involved. With rivalries intensifying and loyalties shifting, this case promises to expose the broader criminal networks that fuel such violence. Justice Hall's controversial decision to offer the assassin a reduced sentence has sparked a debate about the ethics of cooperation in the justice system. While some argue that the former soldier's betrayal should not mitigate the severity of his crime, others believe his cooperation could provide invaluable insights into dismantling organized crime, potentially saving lives in the future. Martin's murder, carried out in front of a crowd of over 2,000 spectators at the Perth Motorplex, was premeditated and executed with chilling precision. The crime not only ended Martin's life, but also left his stepdaughter's partner wounded in the same act of violence. Court revelations have since revealed a carefully planned hit, with the intricate details of the plot now coming to light. This tragic event continues to serve as a stark reminder of the deadly world of gang rivalries and the unpredictable, often violent consequences they can unleash. The murder of Nick Martin was orchestrated by a former soldier who began communicating with David Pye, a senior member of the Kenos gang, in early 2020. Pye and Martin had a tense history, both being affiliated with the Rebels Motorcycle Club before Pye switched allegiance to the Ceros. Their relationship deteriorated to the point of open hostility, with Pye claiming that Martin had previously targeted him. This animosity ultimately led to a plan for retaliation. The man responsible for carrying out the attack had an unexpected background, as he was associated with a group called Shadows of Hope, which marketed itself as the world's most fearless charity. The court heard that the former soldier discussed his military background with Pye, presenting himself as a skilled operative. He was initially offered $110,000 to plan the hit. His preparations involved intense surveillance, including using a drone to monitor Martin's residence and tracking his movements in person. He even visited the Motorplex weeks before the attack, observing Martin from a close distance. The arrangement was set to pay him $150,000 for the job with an upfront payment. However, despite the agreement, he only received $40,000 initially. This case highlights the complex web of alliances, betrayals, and tensions within gang dynamics, demonstrating how quickly loyalties can shift in high-stakes environments. As the trial progresses, it continues to reveal the often hidden conflicts and challenges surrounding loyalty and rivalry within motorcycle clubs. State Prosecutor Justin Wall EST provided a detailed account of the extensive preparations behind the plan to target Martin. Before the incident, the hitman returned to the motorplex late one night when it was closed, making adjustments by removing an aluminum ramp that obstructed his line of sight, ensuring a flawless setup. He then traveled to a remote location to practice his shooting skills, firing 200 rounds at a small target. According to Wall E, this was done to refine his accuracy. On December 12th, the day of the attack, the assassin arrived at the motorplex in the early hours, observing Martin as he took his usual seat on the terrace, conducting one final assessment of the situation. Afterward, he left, put on camouflage gear, and returned to the venue. He quietly crawled through a hole in the fence that he had prepared days earlier, and from his pre-planned position, watched Martin for 10 to 15 minutes before taking the shot. The impact of the murder was immediate, with Martin calling out, "I've been hit." He was rushed to the hospital but later died from his injuries. In the days following the murder, the assassin attempted to collect the remaining $100,000 payment for his services. However, he only received half of it, $50,000. When he questioned Pai, the alleged mastermind behind the plot, about the shortfall, Pai's indifferent response was, "It is what it is." This exchange underscores the unpredictability of loyalty within these operations, where individuals can quickly find themselves at odds, even after carrying out a high-profile hit. The investigation further revealed the ongoing connection between the assassin and Pai. Just 2 months after Martin's death, Pai suggested a new target, a rival overseas, initially offering $800,000 for the hit. Pai later reduced the offer to $600,000 following police drug seizures. While the assassin ultimately declined the assignment, he did accept an initial payment of $145,000, followed by another $200,000 in cash. To keep the funds hidden, the assassin buried the money. This series of events exposes the ongoing and dangerous dynamics of the criminal underworld, where money, violence, and shifting loyalties often determine the fate of all involved. In the bushland of Warnbro, the former soldier's dealings continued with David Pai, who repeatedly requested updates. In response, the man sent Pai a video claiming he was rehearsing for the next job. However, these preparations were cut short when, within weeks, authorities arrested him. He was charged with the murder of Nick Martin and the injury of his stepdaughter's partner. Additionally, he faced 2 counts of dealing in the proceeds of crime, to which he pled guilty earlier this year. This sequence of events reveals not just a criminal network, but also the inherent risks, betrayals, and shifting loyalties that define high-stakes worlds like this. The payment negotiations and the hidden money add an extra layer of intrigue, highlighting the intricate planning behind these operations. As the case unfolds, it underscores the fragility of alliances and the lengths people go to in order to secure power and evade detection within the criminal underworld. The sniper, now a target himself, was represented in court by barrister Simon Frog SC, who argued that his client's cooperation warranted a sentence below the usual life term for murder. Frog emphasized that the 35-year-old had placed a target on his back by testifying against powerful figures, including Pai. As a result, the man has been held in protective custody at Casuarina Maximum Security Prison, isolated from other inmates for his safety. In court, Frog shared that his client deeply regretted his actions, acknowledging that although his meticulous preparation and practice, firing 200 rounds, had given him confidence, he now felt remorse. Judge Stephen Hall also noted that the former soldier had fully taken responsibility for his actions, expressing regret that had persisted ever since he pulled the trigger. The court also heard that the former soldier hadn't needed the financial reward. Instead, he felt profound shame for being used as a pawn in someone else's vendetta. His role in this plan, driven by revenge, weighed heavily on him. The case paints a portrait of a man who, despite his skills and strategic planning, became entangled in shifting loyalties and hidden motives within the criminal world. His cooperation with authorities has come at a personal cost, forcing him into a life of constant vigilance and heightened security. The regret expressed in court adds a human layer to the story, showing the personal toll that organized crime takes, even on those who once thought themselves untouchable. Justice Stephen Hall emphasized the carefully planned nature of the crime, pointing out that the sniper's actions were a contract killing, an unlawful public execution. The sole motive for the murder was financial gain. Martin's murder took place in front of his family, adding to the emotional toll. Martin's wife and stepdaughter were present when he was killed, and their victim impact statements painted a vivid picture of the shock and grief that has since overshadowed their lives. Justice Hall acknowledged the weight of their testimony, noting how the loss of Martin continues to affect his loved ones deeply. However, Justice Hall also recognized the level of cooperation the former soldier had provided since his arrest. He has given a detailed witness statement and agreed to testify against David Pye, a senior figure in the criminal network. This cooperation played a significant role in Hall's sentencing decision. Nevertheless, Hall issued a stern warning. If the man fails to uphold his agreement to testify, his current 20-year sentence could be revoked and replaced with a life term, with a minimum of 30 years. Under the current terms, the man will serve at least 18 years before he is eligible for parole, offering him a narrow chance at freedom after 2 decades. Martin's family, present for the sentencing, expressed mixed emotions. Martin's daughter Tia voiced her sorrow and frustration as she left the courtroom, describing her father as a great dad. Fighting back tears, she said, "He was taken by a bunch of cowards. That's all they are, cowards. Nothing will ever bring my dad back." Her words echoed the family's enduring grief and sense of injustice. Martin's father also expressed disappointment with the sentence, stating that he would have preferred a longer term. He shared the emotional aftermath of his son's death, saying, "We're all still grieving." The loss has left a deep void in the family, underscoring the long-lasting effects of the crime beyond the immediate tragedy. Meanwhile, the man's solicitor, David Monera, indicated that his client was dissatisfied with the sentence and might consider appealing the 20-year term. After speaking with his client, Monera commented on his disappointment with the outcome, suggesting that an appeal may be lodged to seek a further reduction in the sentence. This case continues to shed light on the dark intricacies of organized crime, where violence, loss, and emotional scars extend beyond the individuals directly involved. It also demonstrates the complexities the justice system faces when defendants offer critical cooperation in exchange for lighter sentences. As the case progresses, it will likely raise broader questions about accountability, justice, and the balance between punishment and rehabilitation in high-stakes criminal networks.